All right, so we'll give a few minutes, guys, for people to kind of pile in. Gonna be quite the day. Let's see what Neo says.
Has turned against the bulls. The sequence of lower highs confirms that selling pressure is dominating the current session. Comp. Earns.
I don't know why
The
he can't say
proximity of the 1
concerns,
minute
right?
anchored VWAP at 27,494.0 in. The 1 minute EMA 200 at 27,458.50 creates a congested support zone that could trigger a rapid, aggressive bounce. Shorting into these levels without a clean, sustained break of the VWAP increases the risk of being trapped in a mean reversion move. Long entry option, none. Short entry option, if price breaks and sustains a close below the 1 minute anchored VWAP at 27494.0. Target the 1 minute EMA 200 at 27,458.50. Invalidation is a confirmed reclaim and hold above the 5 minutes LISMA. Summary. The market is undergoing a bearish correction as price fails to hold critical structural support levels. Wait for a definitive break below the anchored VWAP before seeking short side participation to ensure sufficient room for downside movement.
Pretty good advice, actually. On that, I love, guys. One of the coolest things I love, man, about what he's doing, and this may sound strange or not, right? Is that he's giving the guidance, which has been great. You know, his entry guidance has been pretty spot on to what I want, which is awesome. But I love when I sit here and say, man, look at this structure we just broke down. We're coming down. Like, I don't know if we're going to jump, but I damn sure would not take a long in this area because we're coming from the upper part of the channel. We broke this, right? And when I'm talking that or like that, and I'm thinking that, and then I see him go long none, I'm like, well, the update I did worked, right? I'm onto something here, right? And so, and you guys, I've had so many people message me. They're like, man, Neo saved my butt because I was thinking about doing this trade, and then he's like, none. And I was like, not doing that trade. I think it was, who was it? Texas time. And I don't know if he usually gets on the TikTok there. I love that he put this, man, because this is what I keep getting messaged, which is awesome because, you know, Neo, I just want him to be a great tool and coach for you guys to use that is going to either be due to him making you money or calling a trade for you, but also keeping you safe, right? And so you can see where he put that, save me from myself today, help me do my job preserving the capital, great work, right? Trading is waiting, right? And so I love that you did that, Texas, if you're anywhere in there. But just keep, you know, guys, I want you guys to share your stories, your experience in here. Anybody who's willing, you know, your profits, I appreciate those that are doing that. You know, but if you guys have any, you know, feedback from Neo like that, I love to hear that, right? Because, you know, a lot of the time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears that I'm putting into him, right, to help you, I want to make sure that it's working. So, you know, just let me know on there. Guys, welcome. Come, those are coming in. What do we got? 9:19. I'll give it another few minutes here, and then we'll jump in to some fun TA. I'm gonna check my accounts. I just want to make sure all my stuff is lined up here.
The market is currently consolidating around the 5 minutes LISMA at 27503. 75, which acts as a pivot point for both buyers and sellers following the recent structural breakdown. Price action is trapped between the 1 minute LISMA at 27,535.25 acting as overhead resistance and the 1 minute anchored VWAP at 27,494.50 serving as foundational support, leaving the direction in a state of flux. Sentiment. Bullish pressure. Confidence. 4 out of 10. Reason. Price is successfully holding above the 1 minute anchored VWAP and the 5 minutes LISMA, suggesting that buyers are attempting to defend the Current structural floor. The presence of a green Heikin Ashi candle indicates a minor shift in short-term order flow as price tests its immediate support. Concerns. The 1-minute Lisma remains significantly higher, creating a major overhead hurdle that must be reclaimed for any meaningful bullish expansion. Furthermore, the 15 seconds EMA is still trending bearish, highlighting that the broader short-term momentum has not yet shifted back to the buyer's favor. Long entry option. If price breaks and sustains a close above the 1-minute Lisma at 27,535.25. Target the recent high of 27,539.75. Invalidation is a confirmed close below the 1-minute inch. ORD VWAP at 27,494.50. Short entry option. If price breaks and holds below the 1-minute anchored VWAP at 27,494.50. Target the 1-minute EMA 200 at 27,460.75. Invalidation is a confirmed reclaim and hold.
I want to mute him, guys. Man, it drives me bananas. So he'll say anchored correctly like 80 times, and then every now and then, he'll be like, they churred. I'm like, bro. But it's so hard to fix him when he's only messing it up occasionally. Oh, AI. But I'm gonna go and mute that, guys. Let's get into the day. So, welcome. Yesterday we did our development class, and it was right around the time that this thing decided to go bananas. Right around there is when we got into the class. So as we decided, or I decided to pivot the class and do a live session, of learning, we ended up trading instead of just doing the lesson that I had planned. So as this kind of came through, right, we were able to identify that top and begin to play a lot of these shorts, right? We played this one in here as well as within there, right? When you go into the lower time frames like this, right, this is kind of what our 15 second looked like. So as we kind of came up, oh, I know people get tired of hearing my voice though. I don't know. So we got a head and shoulders there that kind of invalidated. So we were watching through this, and then as it kind of came up, one of the things that I had talked about and I called is the market hates round numbers, right? It just does. It's it's what I've noticed. And we did the same thing at 500, right? Where we broke it, tried to hold it, then we lost it. Notice when we lost it, we tapped and rejected right at that 600 area. Dropped back down, kind of did this little rounded cup, and then we kind of rejected on that lower area, which was also below the 600, right? Which created that collapse. Ended up kind of putting us into a larger head and shoulders with the kind of a wide shoulder. Ended up coming across. This ended up going really deep, right, on this shoulder side. But we did end up creating, after this drop, right, we stayed below that trend line. So when I was talking to the class last night, I had reminded them that this was only a push due to the earnings, right? And what was going on with all that, right? And so that's a news push. It's not really a technical push, right? So this was the push. Asia opened, kind of held it, broke above the high, creating the FOMO push. Mentioned as we kind of took some of these short plays that it was going to probably drop pretty good back down to this level because news loves to reclaim. And so it was really cool to wake up and see that happen, right? So it was awesome. So little mild FOMO we had a discussion about today, right? Because when you call those things, it's like, dang, man, I wish I would have just stayed up, right? But we can't do that. So I love to see that it still played out. It still worked. It's stuff that I can remember. This was a channel that we kind of identified. You almost can kind of pull it all the way even back to here. If you notice, this is almost parallel, but not quite, right? And so even though we have those touches, I'm going to pull this up there because that now creates this pretty parallel, right? I think this channel is going to play a pretty big part today. because of the fact that um, when we do Thursdays like this, they can be continuation days, but they tend to be almost like the new Friday pump and dump, right? So there's a chance, depending how market opens, right, that we can get up into here, come up on this channel. Any kind of breakdown back below, right, that breaks this channel towards the end of the day is going to drop us pretty hard. And so we'll keep an eye on that. So for me, when it comes to my rules or bias, if you will, today, I am a little conflicted, but I am more looking probably for shorts than I am longs. Now I do think that we have a pretty good potential to move up, because when you look at this, right, we are still in a uptrend on my yellow line here that I've been watching with this channel there. This is my deeper macro uptrend from the 1 hour, and we have not even touched any of this. Even in these deep pulls, right, we still haven't touched any of this at all, right? I know the market loves to hit these kind of pockets, because it hits these pockets and then either jumps really hard, or these are what breaks, right? Because they tend to be very strong supports. So we run just as much chance to come back down and keep us into an oscillatory nature as we do to break this and come back up. I do think that we're going to get up into this range at some point. Not sure how long that will take to get there, right? And so if you think about it, right, we do have a lot more room to go up, but I don't really have a lot of TA other than one kind of trend line that's speculating that, right? So as we broke this top here, we didn't break it very high, right? So when we broke through this one, we broke it, retested it, with some strength, right? And then that pushed up, came down, pushed up. From this top to that high, we're pretty equal, right? Then we kind of had our descent there, came back up, we came up, pushed that, we created a new high. Arguably pretty close, a little less than what these were, right? We instantly lost that and dropped. Now we created a higher low and we pumped again. So that doesn't really show, even with these deep pulls, right, a lot of weakness yet. So what I need to see is something like that happening, and then us holding resistance on prior highs, right? As it does that, that's going to give us a little early tell that we're going to begin to either consolidate or break down, right? And so that's my concern a little. I want to watch and see how market open treats this. Where this market open pulls and bounces, and where it pushes and rejects is critical to me today, right? Because I need to see, is this a stop hunt, that just happened because of the news? You think about it pre-news, right? We were breaking down. We were head and shoulders into a head and shoulders, a breakdown, lower high, couldn't break it. We actually dropped like we were going to break down to this line, and then the news saved it, right? And so the market was looking like it was kind of wanting to have a little bit of more of a pullback. And then the news saved it, right? So as the news wears down, are we going to finally get that pullback? Now, psychological side of it, again, I like to think against retail thought. And so most retail love to jump the gun and say, earning reports came out, super bullish, we're going to the moon, right? And then even when you see this, right, high or low, with some strength, we're going to the moon, I'm long only, right? What better way to wreck them than to send it the other way? And so you can see market open, we're getting that pull. So these levels here, guys, I marked them yellow. I probably could change the color because they're very significant. So maybe we'll make them like a purple or something, because they're very significant. So I want to watch that, because if these levels begin to act as deep resistance, right, we're coming down. So, but if we crush through those and act those support on those, it's just going to keep pushing hard, right? So build your bias, stick to your plan. Again, for me, when I get into these all-time high areas, I'm more short than long. In true transparency here, guys, I do not intend on taking a ton of trades, um, because we did really well last night. So I ended up somewhere close to like 8,000, 9,000, something like that, on fundeds. And so I don't need to risk that. But I do have my accounts open. If I like what I see, I'm not going to just give it up, right? I'm still going to take something. So you guys can see so far my thought is playing out, because we're getting our deep pull. Let's look at this. Again, it's market open, so take what he says, right? Cautious. I forced some code to let him know about market open. He didn't seem to accept it. I think that I got to look more into it, right? Because I think that there's some other stuff in there that contradicted how I did it. And so he's not really aware anymore of the fact that we're in market open. So um, we are getting that deep pull. This is our prior day high. So any kind of pull into that, right, is going to be pretty deep. Now, you guys know I talked about it in the pre-market. Anytime we pull into this and then we pull out of this, it tends to sweep pretty hard, right? So let's look at the macro side of it. You know that we have a push kind of breaking out of our channel from the 1 minute that we had. This is our sweep low from the open. If we get any kind of push here that cannot reclaim this area, it's going to dump pretty hard, right? Now we know that we have a gap fill here and we have a gap fill here. So market open, guys, be very careful because it likes to more times than not sweep and then come back the other way, right? So be really careful. I'm going to watch things like prior day high right here because I want to see if we start respecting this and we get another close below, guys. It's just going to be a very bearish morning, right? Open. So where this kind of lands is going to be important to me. Our 15-second trap call did play out those traps, so that's pretty cool to see that. This was our 1 minute trap call from there. So the fact that it held that price and came down, it's pretty sick. If you guys don't have this trap one, man, it's pretty good. This is probably one of our better ones that we've made. In this area here is also kind of a trap zone. It's pretty wide. It's 114 all the way to 300, right? So, but it's also the 5 minutes, so it's a little bigger macro. So, let's keep watching. So I am gonna let Neo talk, but I'm gonna probably do it like 9:40, 9:45. I want to get out of the ORB. So still getting our pull. We are flat top, right? So do not chase these bottoms. Notice I said right here, right, when we come down, if we hold resistance there with the close, that's likely going to sweep. This is my 50-point marker. It's a calculation that I do, right, that tends to try to hold a little bit. That's why we're stalling a little. This, the way it looks, should have enough pressure to come down and sweep wick this. How deep this sweep wicks it with the pullback is going to tell us everything, right? For me, a lot of times, guys, I know some of you love to scalp these opening directional moves. That's fine if you're doing tight TPs. Just be careful, right? Because we're going to come into some areas here. You got 316. Let's look and see why that's viable. Let me mute this stuff here. Yeah, prior high right there. A little lower for these ones here. So anywhere around 308 to 316 definitely could bounce, right? Not seeing any kind of strength yet though. So if you are like even me, guys, when I trade these kind of things, I don't like or trust the first move on open. There's days that this thing just keeps dropping, right? And you're like, dang, wish I took that. But I don't usually trust the first move because I'm more of a top and bottom trader, right? So when I'm coming into these things, I'm looking for more where's the bounce, right? Now we have to be careful because we are a rising channel which did break out. That's why we're getting this deep pull. It could pull pretty deep. So be really careful looking for a bottom. So we do have a trap area here and here. Let's see if any viability comes from that. So looks like that looks like a possible trap area, right? So you can take kind of a little micro trend line. I mean, I don't know that I like it because it's the open, right? And see if we get any kind of push and close there. This $50 spread that I do is usually pretty solid. So if we were to reclaim in that, it's going to be a pretty decent reclaim, right? A decent push. Anything that stays below here is going to continue to pull. So we have London low, Asia low down here, and EU low. There's a lot of liquidity in here that it might be trying to grab. But remember, this 308 to 316 area, we definitely can bounce. So if you're one that looks for top and bottom, you got to get something, right? Give me a doji, give me a good clean close above. I personally am not a big fan of taking longs into the prior day high until it's reclaimed that prior day high, right? It's just very dangerous. So if anything, I'm more so, I was just looking as I was thinking it, I'm more so I want a pullback and then I'm going to take it. And so notice how he says if price pulls back to the 1 minute 200 EMA, right, at 461, and I love that he's giving a little wider spread and a confirmed rejection, right, to take that short. And that's something I might be more interested to look into, right, would be, come up here, give me that rejection on the close below, right, I'm going to take that short again. Because now I've actually had a pullback. I've got my market open pull, with the push. And it would be a retest of that channel. Right, to give me that rejection. So that's just kind of what I look for because I'm more top and bottom. I don't want to take these moves because I know how quickly market open, we could continue to floor, right? But market open loves to do this where it comes down, tap, tap, and then we just get an absolutely violent, move the other way, right? And so we got to kind of assume that's a possibility. So if you're a continuation style trader, right, you want to see things like this. Rejection there, close below there, then you're taking that short, right? Quick scalps. As this comes here, where this breaks is critical, right? If we get a good breach wick with a pull that close below, right, the quick scalp, right? Because the only thing we really have here is that 1 hour Lisma, and then you see this is a 15-minute 200 EMA, right? So it's pretty critical areas. And so if we can breach that, right, this right here and this and this, these are all our liquidity levels, right, that it's going to likely try to go for. Now, we know 308 to 316 has a really good prior high. So if that prior high decides to hold, right, then it's going to give us a pretty good jump. So I'm still seeing a lot of bearish pressure. So I'm not really seeing it yet, but a little bit of minute pressure north, but nothing crazy. Anybody scalping this? I know some of y'all were on evals. These are not safe to take on your ones that were close to passing, guys. Well, in all fairness, if you did what I said in pre-market, Cody, you would have hit TP already. Hindsight's beautiful, isn't it? That was funny. The old one M and Q and set the TP and bam, you're already done. Yeah, so let's see if we get. Mostly, guys, I'm looking to see my style, I guess, if you will. I'm not a fan of shorting exhausted moves. I would prefer this thing to do this, right? Then I'll take a short back where it retests in the breakdown. Anything short of that, guys, I am a very patient trader. I'm a very non-FOMO trader. I'll let this sucker come all the way down to a level that I'm good with, for support, right? Something down in here, or these lows, and then I will wait for the long setup and take the long, right? I'm fine with that. I said I would mostly be short on that, but today, and I'm cool with it, but if the opportunity comes, right, like if we get into this prior day low area and we start to reclaim things, I have no issue trading short on the prior day high and long on the prior day low, right? So but be really careful grabbing these bottoms. We're trading in Q, guys, or M and Q on this, so not looking at any other TA for TikTok. So really cool to see that our cells are working out on that, so that's awesome. This is a nice little breakdown. We finally came into our macro trap area. We did end up invalidating there. We did see a decent bounce from it, which is great because we bounced from 30 all the way back up to 70 when we hit that area, right? And so kind of makes sense why we bounced there as well. and then we ended up reaching that, right? So the next area is going to be 250, and then the larger, remember the wider areas are a little more strength involved, right? One of the things I'm playing with, guys, because I forget who even told me about it last night. It was, but the I added the 15-second trap because, you know, it's going to give you a little earlier read, right? If I see a trap here, it might be short-lived, right? But it might save me from taking a bad entry, right? So we are getting a little bit of DOM jumps. Did you guys see that kind of going on? So a little bit of DOM jumps. This was a critical area, right? So if we breach that, which we did, and we reclaim that, that's going to be what will give us our signal to kind of push up. So you want to confirm rejection on a pullback towards the 367. So it's telling you, Neo's telling you no shorts until you get back up to 367 and get a confirmed rejection. Kind of what I've been, you know, I mean, it's almost like, you know, I'm telling them how to trade, right? So I love, that's how I know I'm really on point with this code, man. Like, I haven't touched them again, and I don't know if I tend to, because I finally got it where if I say, hey, I wouldn't do this till this, and then he does that similar advice, I'm like, love it. So we are starting to find a little bit of a bottom, guys. See this? Got a hammer there, kind of a little absorption, minute, but there. Any close above there should breach wick that. If that happens, right, we have a pretty decent trend structure, right? You can take, I probably would skip the top on this and go something like that because I see the parallel, right? So any kind of push here, breach wick, if it can breach wick enough, like up to there, and then close, right, then we're going to get a pretty good push. Now, that is all contingent on that because remember, 308 and 316 are pretty good resistances slash support, right? And so if this continues to act as resistance, we're going down. But if we get a close above here, right, our doji, that push up above there, right, it should have enough steam to give us a little bit of a push there. So let's watch and see. So we're starting to reject a little bit. I love his guidance here, guys, because this is really what I would normally look for. I'm not opposed to some long scalps, you know, within this range if you're doing a tight TP, but you're really close to the upper prior day high, right, that we lost. And so could be a little dangerous, but if you take them, you know, kind of quick ones, you might have enough room to push. So we're getting a decent amount of DOM jumps in an area we probably shouldn't. So this might be that kind of push that Neo was kind of waiting on. Let's see. See the DOM jump again? We also are doji close above. So this should have some steam to push up a little bit here. If we lose it at all, guys, it's going to be a pretty bearish day, right? So because when we break these kind of structures and we breach wick that, it's pretty surefire you're going to get that close and that push up to this range here. So you can see that push. Guys, give me one quick sec. I'll be right back. Okay. All right, I'm back. Oh, we had a little sweep back, but you see how we're starting to get that. I would expect that we can get up pretty good on this. But that would be a retest of Lisma. You guys know how I feel when we get these drops to get that halfway pull uh, back down, right? Is definitely very possible. So, but we're getting the pressure. So, isn't it cool, guys? I know many of you have been studying that for a bit with me about kind of watching the order flow through the DOM there. Notice right when we were kind of getting this push here, I was like, DOM jumps kind of popping out, and we shouldn't have DOM jumps here, right? As we fell below a pretty key level, and so that tells you the buyers are coming in. Doesn't mean that we're going to the moon, guys. So don't chase things too long. I would suspect that we would get somewhere up here, but notice where we're rejecting, right? See where we're rejecting right on this prior low. So that could be a pull with the deep rejection. So we want to see it rejecting there is what it should do. The other thing about it is notice we rejected right on that line, right? That's why this box is there. Yeah, is that the previous? Yeah, so it's hard to say that for that brand. I try not to say that because I feel like we could argue that there's like 87 previous all-time highs in the last 3 days. I'll be like, which one? So, but this is important. This is a huge pullback, right? So the pullback is expected because we were right here. I would have expected it to get up to there normally, and it may still, but this is pretty. The fact we're below this prior day high, right, is huge. Where this pull goes to is massive. Now, what I love about this, guys, I don't know if you noticed this, but remember, I think it was this other one right here. Look, take a short on a confirmed rejection after a pullback to 367. We pulled back to 366.25. What was the high? Yeah, 365.25, right? And then we got the pull. So his short guidance there played out absolutely phenomenal. So he's still saying no longs. For those wanting to chase these pushes up, he's still saying no longs, right? So be careful. Now he wants to take a short if we push up to Lisma and we get a rejection. So notice, I love that little modification, right? He had this one. Now, remind you, if this still is in play, it's still in play, right? Just because he puts this one out doesn't mean this one's not in play. And that one did end up playing out. Now, you can take a safer approach and say, well, this is a little higher. I'm going to not take a short until I get up to there, right? Now, this really matters what this is doing because we are DOM jumping again. You see that briefly? And so I want to see if we get enough juice to really push this, or do we get a deep pull from it? So, mind you, this area is really critical, guys. So watch the DOM and just see, are we continuing to get any kind of DOM pressure north? A little bit, but we're getting some absorption as well to the south. So I'm going to kind of watch it and let you guys know what I see. Also, these candles are going to matter. So we had a little good DOM jump there. I can see in the corner of my eye there. There's another one. Leaning more north than south as of now. But where this breaches is important, right? Because now we're just a push, pull into a hammer, close above. That should have enough steam to breach wick this, right? With this, you can argue even kind of a double bottom, right? If this were to break that, it should have a lot of steam just because of that pattern. Now, if it doesn't, if we break down here, guys, that is kind of a potential bullish setup, right? That breaks down, and that's going to kind of tell you, a little bit more on that direction possibility. So you see the push from that. Now that we have the push, I want to see, can we get the close, right? We need to see, is the micro doing bullish things. So let me let Neo talk for a second while I look at this.
Market. Sentiment. Bearish pressure. Confidence. 7 out of 10. Reason. Price failed. to sustain momentum above the 1-hour HTF resistance at 27,367.25 and remains below the bearishly sloped 1-minute Lisma at 27399.0. The current move confirms a rejection of higher levels, aligning with the 1-minute anchored VWAP trend at 27,467.50. Concerns: the proximity of the 5 minutes EMA 200 at 27384. 50 may provide temporary support, potentially leading to choppy price action. The most recent push showed a minor bounce that must be fully invalidated to confirm further downside expansion. Long entry option: a confirmed reclaim and hold above the 5 minutes macro resistance at 27,367.25. This setup becomes valid upon a successful bounce off this level to target the 1-minute Lisma at 27399.0, provided the upward expansion holds. Invalidation occurs if price fails to maintain the reclaim and closes back below 27,350.0. Short entry option: a breakout and expansion below the macro support level at 27,265.25. This entry is valid as it confirms the continuation of the bearish trend toward the 1-hour HTF support at 27138.0. Invalidation occurs if price reclaims the recent local high at 27,325.50. Summary: the market is respecting overhead macro resistance and showing signs of bearish continuation as it trades below key structural indicators. You should monitor for a clean break of recent lows to confirm the trend or a structural reclaim of resistance before considering upside participation.
Not terrible advice, guys. So you guys can see we have the pull, the push, and it's starting to break down again. So we need to see the micro within that and see what we're doing. Do we get any kind of hammers? You know, you guys know we have the POC all the way here, so we can run the risk of coming all the way to like 220, right? 217. The better play would be, honestly, guys, if, you know, we can chop a little bit, but if we can get somewhere into here and then get that break, right, then you can play those longs. But for now, you know, we're definitely getting a lot of bearishness in here. So let's see if we get any kind of bullish bounces. There's a bounce. We got bounce 1. There's bounce 2. Uh-oh. If we get bounce 3, y'all know what that tends to do. So we're getting a decent bounce right off of this area where we lost the London low and then we reclaimed it. So we have 290 would be our kind of breaking point, right? That would push us back up there. Any kind of failure of that would drop us back down again. So let's just keep watching. The buyers are trying to come in, but the sellers are definitely pretty strong. So let's see. I'm gonna keep watching the DOM. So his short was 265. We didn't quite get that. The long, he still doesn't want it until we reclaim 367. So we still have a little bit of room before we even can get that one. So we're still pressuring south, guys. Let's see. So we're still pressuring. This low is going to be critical, right? The 272 on the micro. This prior low. If we stay below there, right, we're going to get expansion towards the south still. So I want to see if we get any kind of hammers, pressure. When we get these kind of sweeps, the only way we really get big pushes here is if we can reclaim that low. So 270 or so. That's what you kind of want to watch. we're getting some pressure. Just want to see if we get any kind of reclaim. See the little minute jumps that are coming in? Not getting the follow through though, but we're getting, the buyers are coming in. They're trying. There we go. That's the push.
The market is exhibiting strong bearish momentum as price remains trapped beneath the primary moving averages and the anchored VWAP at 27,460.50, indicating a clear structural bias to the downside. Sentiment, bear-ish pressure, confidence, 7 out of 10. Reason, price is trading below all major structural moving averages and the anchored VWAP on the 1-minute time frame, signaling confirmed bearish intent. The consistent series of lower highs and inability to reclaim significant resistance levels support the continuation of the current downtrend. Concerns, the current price is approaching macro support, which may trigger a consolidation phase or a sharp snapback move. Volatility remains elevated, necessitating caution regarding the distance between the current price and structural obstacles. Long entry option, none. Short entry option, A. Short entry
Creating
is valid
hammers,
upon a
guys.
confirmed break and hold below
Careful.
the 27,253.50 support level, targeting the next structural level at 27,129.50 with an invalidation above the most recent lower high. The market is currently trending lower, and traders should focus on selling strength as long as price remains beneath key resistance and moving averages. Avoid initiating new positions until price shows a clear, sustained breakout from the current range to ensure the path to the next objective is not blocked by nearby support.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're getting a lot of DOM pressure north that's coming in, but then it just gets absorbed. That's why I was kind of being quiet there watching. The rate that it's absorbing it is pretty crazy. So we're coming into the range that I was originally talking about. Right. So we're right at that POC. So this is huge. We breach this, guys, it's just going to be absolutely bearish. But we can definitely bounce here. So be careful. I would be really cautious taking more shorts right here. Because we're at a critical level that can absolutely bounce. See how we're starting to push. Now this push is important, but the reclaim is what's really important. See that? You see the DOM? Remember the DOM jumps that I keep preaching? Like freaking clockwork, man. So let's see if we hold. So now we're just getting a DOM jump, right? But we need a reclaim of 72 to really go. But see the buyers coming in? They're trying, right? I would expect they would try to get this up to about 309. That's what I'm looking at. So let's see how this reacts now that we're there. We're actually forming a little bit of a micro inverse head and shoulder possibility, right? So a little sweep to here would kind of put that in play. That's going to be a big play, right? Because if that ends up holding, right, then we're going to come back up. So we're kind of watching. On the macro side of it, we're still flat bottom and or flat top toward 277. We know this is at a good angle, so a safer play for those that are kind of waiting or close to past the evals, right? As you're coming up, a breach of here with a reclaim would be kind of that scalp you'd want to take in there. Anything short of that is very risky, guys.
The market displays a clear structural decline as price remains trapped beneath the 1 minute least Squares moving average in the 1 minute anchored VWAP at 27,450.75, confirming. Significant overhead
So we're
resistance
tapping
and
that
bearish
ORB
intent.
area.
Sentiment. Bearish pressure. Confidence. 3 out of 10. Reason. Price is trading below both the 1 minute and 5 minute least squares moving averages, indicating a persistent lack of buying interest. The broader structure shows a clear rejection from higher levels with consistent lower lows across the macro. Time frame. Concerns. The current price is hovering near multiple support levels, which creates a high probability of erratic
Yeah.
bounce behavior rather than clean, sustained momentum. The distance to the nearest macro
Here comes
indicators
the
is insufficient to
pressure.
provide a clear path for a high conviction trade. Long entry option. None. Short entry
He still
option.
don't like the
A
longs
short
though,
position.
which
Could be considered
like I
if
said,
price confirms a rejection at the 1 minute least.
let me mute him. Like I said, this is going to be our gap fill, so for us to come tap that is likely, right? For us to breach wick that and close above that, that would be your kind of your safer play, or ideal play, if you will. Let's see. There it goes. Hopefully y'all stop taking shorts there. I don't know if anybody reversed into taking some of the longs here. The top and bottom trader and me decided to take a couple of those longs, but be careful as we come into Lisma. We should be able to breach Lisma, giving you that kind of safer play setup. Getting a little momentum. There's the breach right there. Now we know 316 is going to be big, so I want to see this breach wick go past that. That's not what you want to take. You want, breach, rear back, close, and then if we can get back in there, right, we have a lot of OA and we have a gap fill up here, right? So that would give our confirmation of that too. So let's take a look. I'm done with this account, so give me a minute. Okay, so I'm going to close that one down. So we're just getting a little rejection off Lisma, which as you guys all know is very, very normal. So let's see where this pushes and breach wicks here is huge to me. So it's still just tapping. To me, we got a lot of dojis in here and a lot of pressure, right? So I haven't seen anything showing that it's going to break down yet, but I don't see the hammers that I would normally like to see it burst. But the DOM is still severely pressuring north. Now we're coming into a pretty good resistance here, and you guys know once this tends to breach wick, it likes to give a little rear back. So you can't be shocked if it does, right? Because we've had a pretty deep pull with a reclaim of these lows, which is what gave us this push, right? So for us to halfway liquidity pull to there before it wants to break is pretty normal, or possible for sure, right? At the very least. So see the pressure? Now is where, remember, this is what I was waiting for on the macro or micro. This area here should not be creating too much pressure or hammers, right? Now we didn't quite get a hammer. It's more doji. It's indecision. If this can close above here, I want to see that push. I want to see that breach, right? Which would push it into the gap fill. We do have 333, yeah, some resistance there. So let's see if we get this close above. It seems like it's losing a little bit of steam, but so we're still, like, see how they're minute, but we're still getting those little jumps. Those little jumps are what I really look for. So this is big, right? Because now we have 1, 2 absorptions to the south. Close below is going to pull us pretty good, right? Close above is what it would need to give that extra push. 1 minute is dojing. We know we're stalling out on Lisma, which makes sense. We also have a big pull on the macro with a doji. Close above 304 on the macro is what will push us up really far. Personally, I would prefer that we push up into here, 330, 350. That would give me that kind of halfway, right? And then from there I can look to take more shorts if I wanted to, or look for the break, right? And take the continuations on the long. For me, this almost kind of feels like a very big sweep kind of play. We've seen some pretty wide sweeps south and some pretty wide sweep north, so just be careful pushing too far one way or the other. So look at that. The hell was that? What a rejection. Something's picking it up right now, so it could be a little stop hunt. Let's see how it reacts, because this is a deep rejection, right? So now again, to reject on the breach wicks of Lisma is normal, but notice where we're at, right? We're push halfway. That's where I was kind of saying I love those rear backs. Push halfway rear back. Push would give more strength, right? Now if we lose that halfway rear back, it's going to probably go for a lower low. So watch the Dom and see. You also know, many of you, right, when we get these compression zones and we sweep out of it and we reclaim it, when it hits that top, it ends up more violent than what it would have been in the first place, right? So let's see. Kind of watching the Dom here to see. Definitely getting more bearish drops now than jumps, but let's see if it reverts. We're just indecision on the macro. We're in a very big trap level that tends to push us up a bit, but we're definitely getting more pull still than we are push. So let's see if we get any kind of jump. We're getting that sell. We did break that half, which a lot of times likes to create a lower low within that. Anything that is equal or higher low, right, then would come up and revert back heavily. We did end up losing that prior low. We also lost our possibility for kind of our wider inverse head and shoulders, right? So a lot of weakness within that. Coming into that support zone, this is going to be critical. Remember, when we lose that halfway, we tend to want to expect that we're going to lose that low, which it did sort of. So let's watch. See if we get any kind of bounces within. $141 is our next kind of level of support, but I have a feeling we may get a little bouncy here, right? 186 is another critical level, right? That's that EU low. So let's see if we double bottom here and jump. See the Dom kicking in again, guys? Getting some Dom jumps back north, like we were, right off of a support area that we should have. So let's see if we get any absorption. That was a weird one. See that? How it like jump, drop, jump, drop. They're battling right now, guys. Big battle. Big old battle right now. Did you see that though? It was like a jump, drop, like a massive absorption came in or something. So let's see how the micro holds, right? Close above here, we're going up. Close below there, we're going down. So He's not really liking longs. He wants a pullback to 270 before he'll even consider a short, though, which is somewhere in there. So it's a pretty good plan. So let's see. It's a big battle right here, guys. The Bears are pushing, but the Bulls are trying. Because you can see those jumps, but a good chunk of the jumps are getting absorbed, right? So, look. Bears have not let go of the control yet. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's gonna get crazy. So we're definitely still very bearish, guys. We're just looking to see are we getting any kind of possibilities of reversal. You got to be really careful in these areas, guys, because when we do these kind of slow crawls where we're getting jumps, if the absorption to the south lets up, right, those end up landmines, and we go pretty hard the other way. All right, so we got to kind of watch because the Bears are definitely pushing. They're not gone by any means, but arguably the Bulls are not either. So all we can do is watch the micro. So there we go. Got a nice little jump out of it. You see those deep pushes? Those are the kind of the landmines that I was talking about. There it is. Like clockwork, guys. Like clockwork. So now we're just retesting our Lisma. Remember, when we have a pull here, right, we want another breach wick with a close above here. So that's what we're kind of watching for now. Just looking at something here. How are you guys doing? You guys doing okay with this? Being patient? You definitely have to be patient with this.
I just got here.
Okay. Yeah, be patient because buyers are coming in, right? But the sellers are still in control. But we're getting jumps like I was expecting. And I'm expecting the buyers to kick in pretty harsh here soon. So be really careful shorting now, right? Because we're reclaiming a lot of levels. So we're testing the ORB. This is going to be big, right? We also have kind of a channel here. We breached there. We did breach wick that. We're about to close in 6 seconds. Close above that will give some pretty decent propulsion, right? We know that 308 to 316 is a pretty critical resistance, right? So you got to kind of watch as you're coming into that. But if we breach this, man, it's pretty OA to the 200, right? So let me check something. So we're getting a little pull, but I think that's just a rear back test. But let's see. Pressure's still pretty good. Look at the 5-minute, guys. We got doji into a hammer, trying to hammer. We still have not got the close above it, though. Right, we want that close above 302 to push us. So, as we're pushing, we got the doji with the hammer. We're starting to close below the hammer. Here's our 1-minute Lisma that we're kind of looking to see are we going to hold. We're rejecting off the ORB, so it's not really shocking. Bearish pressure's coming in a little bit. See that sweep, but let's see how the Bulls react. Do they reclaim? It's a big battle, guys. This is a tough one to read because we're getting a good amount of bull pressure where we should, and we're getting a good amount of bear pressure, causing them to pull from it, right? So we're getting a decent pull. Now, mind you again, guys, this is just another Lisma break, pullback, rejection off the ORB. What I want to see is, do we get any kind of buy pressure coming in here soon? Watch the DOM, watch the, see if we create any kind of hammer here, what the micro does. Watch what we're doing within that. So, looks like it wants to sweep. This low is going to be critical because we have a lower high here. So let's watch and see what.
Getting along right now, Nick.
I'm looking for bounces is what I'm looking for. We're very bearish, right? We run the risk of coming all the way to 141, arguably even 080, right? And so I was just talking earlier when I gave the guidance on how to look for it for continuation style traders, and then but I'm just a little mild caution, right? Because as I look at it, it's just very it's very bearish, right? We're definitely dropping down. We're still bearish, right? But we're getting some buy or DOM pressure in areas we probably shouldn't get DOM or buy pressure, right? And so coming into that low, 141. So I want to see, now this becomes a critical area here, because if we pull down here and we get a reclaim of that, then we'll get that jump, right? But anything short of that, we're still dropping. So let's look at this. We know prior daily low is there. We've already cleared all the liquidity we needed to for the prior sessions, right, with the bearish play. So you can see buyers are trying to come in again here. Falling short though. So I'm just trying to see where we can get some pressure. So I want to see, do we get any more DOM jumps? There's a jump. I would not be surprised, guys, if they don't set up a structure pull here and then just absolutely sweep it, right? Kind of in a trap move. So what we talked about earlier was there's likely going to be a lot of traps that are set. So let's see if we follow through with that trap thought. So we're getting a push, a little DOM pressure. Now the DOM pressure is not shocking because 202 is kind of that retest, right? Where you get that retest from rejection or reclaim, right? So see, now we got the pressure into it. Let's see if it holds while it's up at it, right? That's where it becomes critical. So this level is going to be critical, guys, because we're forming a hammer and we're testing these lows. 201. We also now have broken Lisma 2 times, but we've not got confirmation. At some point, we're going to breach wick that and get that confirmation. But let's look at this 202. See the DOM jumps into what should be or should have been resistance. That's big. So now we're rejecting again off Lisma. So let's see if we get any kind of DOM pushes, right, to reclaim it. Little drops, but the pressure still, it's not really DOM jumping, right, but it's definitely trying to pressure. See how we had a little drop there? And then we just reclaimed it. So that reclaim is always very telling, guys. So we do also have a hammer on the 1, but reclaiming this low is what the bulls would need to get enough steam to push. Right, we're also macro there. See the jump? So anybody who wonders when I refer to landmine, that is what I'm talking about. Just setting up something here. So we reclaim that low. That's huge. We're still channeling again. You can almost take a trend, for those that love the trend lines, right? Kind of pull it like that. Any kind of breach of that is going to explode. Us jumping where we jumped is not abnormal because we have a critical low there that was identified by our indicator, right? The DOM jumps as well as just, it's something I look at for those who don't know what I refer to, right? I can explain it a little more once we get in there, but we're definitely getting some pressure. Now, keep in mind, guys, even though we reclaim this low, we're still downtrend until we break that. There's not safe plays until you're above that, right? So you got to be careful. But we do know that we've had a nasty fall on the 5-minute. We are 1, 2, now 3 hammers, right? Any kind of close above 53, 73, somewhere in there is going to be met with a pretty big push, right? So let's watch it. But in anything short of that, right, we're still in that kind of lower channel-ish area. We're getting a little pull. Now we're above 1-minute Lisma again, right? We want to see, is this thing going to hold at any point, right? Or do we keep rejecting off of it? So we are rejecting off of here, which was our Asia low. That seems to be what it's having trouble reclaiming. Now, any kind of push, halfway reclaim, what they bounce is going to continue, right? If we lose this, then we're going to sweep again for another low. So, but I am seeing a lot of DOM pushes. I'm still seeing drops, right? So the bears are not gone. But the bulls are, they're battling, man. They're not letting it go. Not easily. So the macro is not anything confirmed, right? But it's setting up some bullish reversal intent, right? Possible. So we just want to see if the micro is doing the same thing. Yeah, see those jumps? So the micro is definitely trying to do the same thing. I had 2 jumps right there. Let's see if we get a third one. That was arguably a third one, guys. This might be it here. So I hit my TP on that one. Hit my TP on that one. Good deal. So this is big now, guys, right? Because now we held Lisma, we held that. We're macro intent pushing. We're above the high there. Any close above there is going to be met with a big push. We know that typically when we get these deep falls like this, we like to come up in halfway reclaims. So somewhere around 365, which I know is also another pretty critical level. From the trend line perspective, we breach wicked. We need to close above it to get the real steam. We know there's a gap fill up there, right? And so very, very possible. So, let's just look at this. So we know when we get these trend line pushes, right, we tend to get a rear back. So a push, rear back anywhere to here would be normal. These are highs, so if I want to rear back there and continue north, I need to hit here and absorb north. Right, see there's the rear back. Now if this rear back goes low and comes deep, right, you know, it's not, bulls ain't quite as strong as they're trying to be, right? So we got to be careful. So we're somewhere, right now we're just in that rear back. It looks like it's trying to hold. A little bit of bearish pressure coming through it. So we end up losing the top slightly, right? So let's see if we can come up and reclaim it. That loss and reclaim will be pretty big. Now, interesting, we have a hammer, right, with a close below. That should sweep us down. So any kind of push that reclaims these highs and closes above is going to be a kind of a bear trap push, right, within a candle formation. And so be very careful because we look like we want to break this and confirm north. That looks like that to me. But we're not there in a safe area to do it yet. Not quite. So we're getting our pull. See, from here, we want to close above there. Right, now if we go here, we know that we are pushing doji, close above. We got the breach wick, we need to close above there to give you the safe play. So people that are looking for a little more safer, you want to kind of get it in this area here. If you want to wait for macro to align, if you're more cautious, that's fine. We got a lot of hammers in here. We got the doji. We need to close right above that doji to give you a more macro alignment, right? We are getting a 1 minute trap, suggesting more northern, not southern. So we'll see how that plays out. We still have not gotten any buy signals though. You notice that? From the micro or macro, or 1 minute, really, for that matter. So we still haven't got any buy signals. So that's going to be a very important distinction, right? So let's see where this pull goes down to. If we're going to retest Lisma, or are we going to just floor, right? So that's what we're kind of trying to test right now. So see how we got that kind of how I was reading those candles, right? When we got the hammer, we got the close below, that should come down for that lower low. So we ended up doing that. To invalidate that, since we already got the close there, we would need a close above there. And so we never got that. So we know that this trend is becoming very solid, right? Because we breached it and then we can't break it, right? Now we're pulling back again. So now this pullback is huge. Anything that is held in a higher low here, right, with any kind of steam back to the north, would push us back up, right? So it looks like the trap here did invalidate as it comes back through. Not sure if it even validated. It just kind of threw it out there, but let's watch the DOM and see if the buyers are going to come in at all again. A little DOM jump. DOM jump, DOM absorb. Did you guys see that? This is a battle, guys. Man, bulls don't want to let this go, but the bears are just like, they're not giving up. This is a battle. We're getting a lot of DOM drops, followed by a lot of DOM jumps, right? See the pressure? Let's see if it gets absorbed. Neo still don't seem to like many longs, but his shorts aren't aggressive. Notice he doesn't want to even short it until you get up to here. Look at this. Don't short it until you get up to 383. But he don't like the long to get to there, right? But he's damn sure not shorting it. And so, which is good, right? Because he shouldn't. That tells me that he's doing the right thing, right? Because he is optimistically, he's just cautious, right? That he doesn't think that this is going to continue too much farther down, but he's not super confident that we're going back up yet, right? Until he sees some pressure to see that. Guys, anybody in TikTok, YouTube, or in the community even, you guys can always watch Neo for free if you want to watch him. I have him muted because I think it's a very crazy market, so I'm doing the best I can to kind of guide you on what I see. I still would caution you guys on shorts in this area. I think the macro is not there yet, but it's setting up a lot of bullish style reversal setups that can cause, landmines, right? The buyers are still not gone because I'm seeing a lot of DOM jumps, right? So that tells me that they're definitely not gone. So, but the sellers are also not gone, right? They're pressuring pretty well as well. So a lot of times when I see the DOM jumping like this and I start to see a lot of macro intent of a reversal, it's really early and I got to see the micro still respecting that. But typically lands into a pretty decent landmine where you just get a ridiculous candle.
Looks like we're hanging right around the POC too.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm trying to watch this, guys. So again, through all this stuff, right, now we're above Lisma. Typically when we get above Lisma, we like to either dance in this range or go back up a bit, letting this kind of curl. But see how the bears just out of nowhere do that pressure, right? We can't ignore that. So let's see how the bulls treat that, right? Do they absorb that at all, right? Because now we have a hammer. See the absorption we're starting to get? You see that on the micro? So this hammer now creates an area where if we close above that high, it's going to give pretty good propulsion because that would be above all these things that we need to be above, pretty much, in a nutshell. So let's see. There it is. Spring. Let's see if it can hold. But that was the spring I've been kind of watching for. Let's see if it holds though, because that was the pop that we wanted from that original hammer, right? So that should create some pretty decent violence to the north. There it is, like clockwork. The thing is today, guys, it's tricky because the moves are so violent north and south that it creates caution, right, or fear in your trades, and you want to be really careful trading too fearful, right? Because you got to be able to take a few risks if it lines up, if you know how to read it and anticipate it. See that push I was telling you? That rear back close above usually creates pretty good violence, and that was kind of the violence. So now there's a moment of truth, right? Because now we have a confirmed breakout here in 10 seconds. That should create enough momentum to get us up to that gap fill, right? To give that full reclaim within. So let's see if we can get it. There's the push. See how we're still getting the DOM pressure? It ain't gone yet. Just looking at one of my trades here. So I just been scalping these pushes back north. So let's watch, guys, because now, like I said, we were able to identify through the micro in the 1 minute a little bit of early macro intent, but we still aren't quite out of the woods from the macro side because, right now we're just larger doji, right, from the Heikinashi. We almost need this to close up here, come over, and then create a flat bottom, and then that will push up pretty heavy, right? Now, be really careful because as we broke down, right, when we do get that push up into here, that gap fill, this is also a known resistance, right? And so if we hit that, we could easily reject back down, right? So, but so far the propulsion, that we've been waiting for kind of played out with that. It's normal for this to do a rear back. That rear back, what it's doing right now matters, guys. Anything that holds above here or here, right, with a deep DOM jump push is going to explode through this. Anything that collapses that, right, we're going to get a full breakdown. So we just got to kind of watch. So we're starting to break into that zone. The bulls got to come in, otherwise it's going to be a full breakdown. So, but now mind you, anything on the 1 minute, remember I told you guys this usually pushes and it likes to curl Lisma like this. So for us to come in and touch Lisma again is well within what it could do, right? And arguably sometimes even should do. And so now whether or not we get that full pull or not, right, it doesn't always have to happen. So but that's why we're getting that breakdown, right? Because we lost these tops right off of a critical area that we needed to reclaim. So now we know that this was the original hammer that we were identifying as our close above for propulsion. We came down, we lost that top. If we reclaim that, right, it'll do it again. If we lose the low, right, it's sweeping all the way. Right, it's going to come down really hard. So let's see if we get any kind of bounces, DOM jumps here, or are we pushing? Now macro, remember that's what I was saying. We were looking good, but we haven't closed yet, right? We didn't get that actual close that we wanted to from up there. So let's see if we get any pressure here. I'm getting a little bit of a bounce off of the prior low here, which is what we should be doing. There's a little DOM jump, you see that? That bounce here with the close above this doji should have enough to breach wick that. We want to breach wick, close above, and then that would give us, then it would just be a push, rear back push, right? That's what we're trying to see if that's what's in play. So let's keep watching on the DOM jumps. I really want to get above 29 because see how this is starting to flat top there if you're looking to play the bounces. I think that, you know, my pre-market, you guys remember I said, hey, I would be mostly short today. That's played out. You know, I'm optimistic about that, but I'm a little cautious here because when you get these kind of contractions within this, um, we can definitely sweep, and we know we can get to here and here, but these tend to like to set up traps, and so just be really careful is all. So now we're retesting that critical area, right, and starting to reject. See right there? That's going to be a big area, so let's see how this handles the rejections and the jumps, because remember, this also, right, we have a little shoulder, head, and shoulder. So that should break down to there. If we do sweep and we continue to dumb jump and we reclaim that, that would be our first bearish microstructure, right, that is invalidated. And so that's going to be big, right, for the determination of are we going to just dump or are we going to see any upside. So we got the pull into the support. Let's see how this reacts. Because right now we're just reclaim of the body, right? Whenever we get that reclaim of the body, we can just take a little trend line like that. Any kind of reclaim of that trend line, right, will invalidate it. And so let's see if we get our pressure. Definitely getting some down pressure from the head and shoulders, which is what should be happening. So we know the bears are still there, right? Because they're playing out our micro. So even though we had a good bullish kind of play within there, we haven't got the confirmation from the macro side of it. You can see that we're still getting a lot of sells here, but I always am a little worried when I'm above Lisma like that into a support. For us to sweep that and then get a pretty decent bounce is pretty possible, right? This blue line right here is huge. I expect at some point we'll get to it, right? I just don't know that it's going to be right now. I would imagine they would need to shake out some of these shorts before they let it get down there. But let's see. So we're back in our structure. Let's see if we break it. We are getting dom jumps again. You guys see those? Buyers are coming back in again. Not quite enough, but this low is critical. Let's watch and see if we hold that low. Kind of really here, right? If we can breach through here and stay above that low, right, then we'll get our secondary push. I'm going to delete this line here. What time we got? 10:40. We'll watch this last little kind of structure play. It looks to me like it should sweep to here, but we keep getting some good dom jumps within there. But it's the tricky part is because every time that we jump, right, the bears are coming in, man. They just absorb it, so they're not gone at all, right? So we got to kind of watch. Let's see. So it's in that area again. We keep jumping. Let's see if we jump again at all. If not, right, then the bears are wearing them down. So let's see. It's in an area that it should, right? But we do have that possibility of sweeping into here. Well, let's just watch the dome. Little jump there. You see that? Kind of absorbed though. There it is. There's the jump. That's what I was looking. That's what I was looking for. Okay. So we got the jump where we should have. Now this jump, usually when it has that strength, should have enough to close here and breach wick there. If it doesn't, with that kind of a jump, right, be careful, guys, because this whole structure it's building for a bounce could break down, right, if it doesn't do that. And so, because we're starting to get into an area that we should start curling right up into here. And if it doesn't do that, then it's setting up more of a bull trap, right? And then it might full collapse. So we got to be really cautious with that. So we got the rear back. Let's see. We should get another dom jump here again if it's gonna do it. There it is. It's a battle, man. We get the jumps and then the drops, and then the jumps and then the drops, and so. Don't lose sight of our macro though, guys. This hammer right here to me is the most critical. Close below there, we're dropping right pretty hard. Close above there, we're gonna absolutely reclaim everything. So we want to keep our focus on that. So we're getting our push. So 1 minute's trying to close above. Let's see if it can hold. A little pressure, right? Coming into it. We're getting good dom jumps into an area that shouldn't really dom jump like that, right? So that tells you that the bullish intent is there. Again, this one, you guys know from the classes, right? The rear back, when it comes back up and reclaims these areas, right? It's got to breach wick this with some pretty good intent. Otherwise, it's going to collapse pretty hard. So let's see. Now we know we could argue this is a double bottom, so a rear back to that neckline is fine. And then tap back up. There's the dom jumps. You guys see that? Again, it's got to have enough strength to push, but we're still dom pressuring north, so definitely not done. Here it comes. It's going to make its attempt for the breach wick. This is the attempt, guys. If this taps and drops, they ain't as strong as they're leading on to be, right? We need to see that breach. The dom is pressuring hard, so it looks like it really wants to. I'm watching the time as well, guys. It's almost 10:45, so if you're not in the development class and you're not in a trade, you might want to be careful, right? Unless you're experienced enough to do it kind of on your own there. I had Neo up here. I didn't really use him on the guidance necessarily because things were moving really fast. So, but for those that wanted to do that, you can do that. You can always watch him. Remember what I was asked, guys, in the class. Who wants to know what would I ask here on the resistance level? Why are we getting what? Right? Why are we getting hammers up near an area we shouldn't be getting hammers if it's going to be bearish, right? So let's give this one more second to see if we get this expansion right through. Losing a little steam, but nope, there's the jump. See, it's still there. Starting to push. This RB is going to be a big one here, right? Because a lot of times when you do these structures, right, it likes to push maybe to there or here, and then you get a little rear back with it, right? So interesting. He's still like, I don't trust this shit. I ain't taking it long. He doesn't want a short still until you get to 354. He wants this up here and then rejecting. You know, I mean, if y'all haven't noticed with Neo, man, he's got patience, right? That's the beauty of AI. He has no FOMO. He's got nothing but patience, guys. Nothing but patience. See that explosive move? So that kind of tapped my last trade I was doing. So I'm out of all of my trades now. I'm going to not enter anything else until we go into the development program. But we can see that playing through. So, guys, I am going to, again, not make the calls here anymore. Be careful. Take any trades. Anybody still in a trade? Put a thumbs up just so I can kind of make sure I guide you if needed. Okay. Are you long or short, Steven? You can type it if you want, but if you're long, you're just trailing it. Okay, if you're just trailing it, make sure you trail it, right? Because we're expected to get to about here, right? Now, if it breaches this, right, that would be a breach push into there. That would be a moment of truth, right? Where I try to rear back. But remember, 316 and 308, somewhere in there, is good resistance, right? And so you want to be careful. But let's just talk about it, guys. Not a real easy day, but not a really difficult day, right? Because the oscillatory moves south were there. What's going to make it easy or difficult, depending who trades what, right, is if you tried to time any bottom too early, or if anybody in here is trying to short a top, right, and then we get that explosion. So it's gonna, I don't know where it's gonna go from here. We'll have to assess it in the development side of it, but I do know that from this pull, when we get a close above 277 with this body, which is not there yet, but it's pretty freaking close. Now we are now macro confirm reversal, right? Now you guys all know in the class, and I know that we're kind of in the open, but I teach you guys all how to look at these candles at the 15 second, right, to determine that. It doesn't matter if it's 15 second or 1 minute, it still applies, right? And so that's why as I'm seeing all these things, I was kind of expecting that push. So anybody else want to post your P&Ls? So Brent did 723. Oh, yeah, Kevin. In market open, you got to be really careful with stop losses. You got to have those really wide. Otherwise, you're going to get domed out, right? And then that's something I taught, or I teach, where... I thought she was my uncle. That's something that I teach, right, where the misconception is people in the industry, right, believe that risk management means tight stop losses. It just depends. There's so many other ways to trade, right? There's a million ways to trade. But the problem is when you do too tight of stop losses, your entry has to be perfect. If your entry isn't perfect, right, you're going to get... I mean, you can go, oh, man, my risk management is so good. I do a $100 stop loss. But if you get, so tight in that stop loss and you get 10 stop losses, you still lost $1,000, right? So, depending on your rules within that... that also ties into to me with the emotions, right? Now the beauty of and again, this is my style, and most people, I feel most traders do this as far as experienced ones, they just don't tell you, is when you're dealing with prop firm stuff, you always see that as, I don't care what's in there, right, unless you're above the buffer. Your only loss is what the prop firm costs, right, in a sense. And so if your only loss is what the prop firm costs, then I don't mind taking a little wider stop loss, or setting up my volume with the ability to manage my trade within the entire drawdown, right? Because I don't mind if I break it, and so keeps you from being stopped out, lets you battle, right? But you got to choose your poison, right? Now if you're one that likes to use stop losses that are tight, market open's not the place to trade for you, right? It's just not going to be. You're going to want to wait till the afternoon because you got to wait for more structure plays, setups. You're not getting crazy sweeps, right? So, did anybody capture this long push or play, or hopefully none of you got caught at least?
I was on the eval and I was a little too over leveraged, so I got caught.
Mm. Yeah, if you're over leveraged on these, the swings are pretty
Yeah,
pretty
I was
wide.
going long, but I think it was not the last down, but the one before that, and then I've been good for since then. I passed the eval. I made halfway on two other ones and blew one. But yeah, so it was up and down, but not bad.
Yeah. Again, my everything is in perspective, right? For the most part, the market kind of did what it should have, right? What we expected. Depending when you entered, your strategy you took, your volume you used, it's going to change everything, right? Um, and so it's really funny because I was talking about this morning, guys, and I'm not in any trades because we're gonna go to development soon. But it's cool to watch this still playing out like I thought it would. But when we were talking about that kind of in the development, right? You don't need much volume, and you don't need to capture every run. If I'm trying to capture, if I'm like, man, Doji close, Nick says TP's there, I'm just going to let this thing go, right? I don't need to make a lot of money capturing that whole thing. I can micro scalp the crap out of it. I have been only really doing 4 counts. The fifth one I didn't want to do, so I closed. So the one that I had, I did an extra 1,000 on the PA for the company one. The other one, I have 2 that I did 500 on each. Those are both payable, right? So you figure 500 on each, and then that's payable for tomorrow. And then the real money ones that I'm doing, I did really well as well. And so one of them, I did the 5M in Q still with a 24 tick TP, and I'm up 3,031. So people that man, if you don't get this whole move, you can't make money. It's not true, right? There's many ways to trade. So you just have to be patient, choose your strategy based on your way that you want to trade, right? When look at here, guys, Neo's last kind of guidance here, he wants to see a rejection off of either the high time frame or the 1 minute 200 EMA, right? So a push here, rejection would be, I would want to see a push, doji of sort, close, reclaim of that low, then I would take it. His long, he wanted to get a pullback to 265. When did he do this? Right there. So we got to pull back to 270, not quite 65, and then we got the close above, and so his long actually played out. That was a good call. Guys, I'm really excited with the last 4 minutes. Again, if you guys want to push your P&L, awesome. Good job, Steven. Isn't that doing that kind of tight strategy pretty cool? It takes so much pressure off of trading, I think, in my opinion. So, head itches. But good job, guys. If you want to, couple things real quick. I hate when it does that. It's because I drag it through this. A couple things real quick. If you guys want to check it out, guys, those on TikTok or YouTube, you can go to nextstebalgo.com. You can come in here. The open session that we're in right now is free. So you can see on there, you just click there and it goes. Registration is free. You don't have to pay nothing. The development session that we're about to go into is not free. It's $100 a month on that. Includes the class that we had last night to get full access to the video galleries, things like that. This is kind of our video gallery within there. And then you can also see Neo, right? Neo is also free while he's in beta. I'll tell you guys right now, Neo, he's exceeded my expectations, guys. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. I was glancing at guidance that he was giving, and I love it, man. He was very like, I'm not taking a short till we get down here until we get to there. Played out good. He didn't really like the longs, right? But that's okay. I love his cautious style of trading, right? When it gets a little volatile, which is what he's supposed to be doing. So, um, and so when if you guys want to kind of keep getting his guidance, guys, we did extend his hours. We have 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. now,
Hello,
and then
I'm Neo. Let's capture the move.
Neo, and then we have 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. So we did extend that a little bit because I do like what I see. Some I know get up a little earlier, so I had a request from the mentor group to extend him to 6 a.m. So I'm going to talk to Alex about that. I don't have an issue with it at all. And so I will put that at 6 a.m. So we're trying to expand it. Eventually, guys, I want him to be round the clock. But I got to give him some downtime to do some of the self-analysis. Not only his self-analysis, but we have some code that Alex has, right, that double checks his self-analysis. And so that downtime kind of helps our systems run through that. So we need a little bit of time. And so we're going to do that downtime between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., which should be still plenty of time for us to do that. So good job on that, Michael. But yeah, guys, I'm excited with what Neo's doing. That we worked our butts off the last few weeks to really fine-tune his strategy, and it's just been phenomenal, right? I have not seen any issues with his calls so far. I'm learning as well, where anytime I see him make a mistake, I'm quick to correct it. But talking to Alex, I'm told that he's knowledgeable enough to interpret the market to see a call not play out, right? So if he sees a call that he made and it doesn't play out, things get invalidated too much, right? Because he has invalidations. He'll self-correct that, right? And I think I was the overbearing parent because I'm trying to rush this to make it as good as possible for those that need it, right? And being that overbearing parent, right, I was correcting things that he was probably going to yeah, Brent, the jump I've been watching on that landmine played out. The so I got to give him a little room to self-correct. So I told Alex I'm not going to touch anything for at least a good week, maybe 3 weeks, and just see how he self-corrects, right? Unless I see something really critically off. In the meantime, Alex is really close to finalizing the trading algo add-on, which is going to be awesome. Once he's done with that, he's going to finish the connection with Neo to the trading lab. Our plan is eventually, once we get him in the trading lab, and I can see that now that I know he's calling great trades, I want to see if he can execute the trade, right? Open, close, what is his risk management, all that. Once he's executing properly, right, we'll probably create some kind of dashboard where people can watch him place his trades, right? Then maybe you can copy trade him, right? You can kind of follow him. And so a lot to come with Neo, man. We've been working hard, so just stick around for that. I was so confused because I'm like, man, that is such a small, but the way that I have it stretched out, I guess, is what. Any questions, guys? As we come to 11 o'clock, final questions. Otherwise, we'll move over to the development side of it.
No, sir. I hope you all have a great day.
Good deal, man. All right, guys. Again, if you want to come into the development session, you just go to the development program and sign up. Steven, you got another one? Good job, man. Yeah, don't push it right now. Take a little breather, guys. We're going to go into the development session anyways. So remember, don't FOMO this long, right? Don't chase things, right? There'll always be another trade setup. So, but if you want to join up, development programs there. Quick update also, guys, on the mentorship program. We did have another join, so we're at 43 out of 50, and so that window's closing, guys. So if you're interested, I did email. There's still about 6, I think, people that are on the kind of list to join. but they haven't got back to me, as far as their commitment of it. So if you're interested, let me know, because once the spot, I don't care who you are, history, friends, etc. Right? Once that's at 50, I'm locking it. So if you need time, you want to talk about it, just schedule a call, guys. Things aren't set in stone. I just need to. I want to make sure we have the right people in this program. So, which I think we do so far. So, trading courses. I don't know if Paul's on here. Oh, he did. Cool. Lesson 3's out. Let's go. Man, Paul has been working his ass off on this, guys. So definitely appreciate that. It looks like he already dropped off. I think he's over talking to Alex. But he has absolutely been just, as you guys can tell, what we put out in this is not simple. So this is our lesson 3. You can kind of see that. Those that have mentor group, those that are in the VIP, you just click see pricing, you hit request access, and it will refresh it, and you are in. You don't have to pay for it. So once you come into the trading courses, you can see, ooh, look at that, right out the gate. Isn't it ridiculous, the visuals that he's put in this thing? Crazy.
Lesson 3, Chapter 1.
That's insane. So good. Look at this. Yeah, so anybody that's used to the normal watch a video training, right? That's not what we do. This is why it takes a little longer to make these, because I only want to put out high quality stuff, guys. I'm not, those who know me know, I'm not trying to push something just so you buy it, right? I want to put it out because there's a purpose. It's actually good quality content, and it's affordable. It's cheap, right? So for people not in any programs, I think it's $30. I have to check and see. I might need to make the coupon for this one now that he released it, unless he did. But I'll take a look at that. So, but guys, we have 11:02. Sounds like it's a pretty great day. So, just be safe out there. Today again is Thursday, so we're meeting with the mentor group tonight. The development class that we did last night, I'll have that video uploaded probably after the session, right? Yeah, be careful, guys. Don't blow all of your profits, because it still could get a little crazy. So a lot of swing highs, swing lows going on. So I'm gonna drop off of the